everyone.
What's up?
My name is Patty.
And I'm Lexi.
Welcome back to Theory Mess.
On today's topic, we are going to be talking about fears and
Fear itself.
Fear itself, our fears, or fear-related stories.
Yeah, and how it comes into play into literally everything that we do.
Mm-hmm. As humans, we have to have fear.
We have to.
Yep.
Right. So, what is the dictionaries? Mm-hmm.
Fear is this is just, this isn't the definition, but fear is a vital response to physical and emotional danger. And the reason why we have it is for human evolution. Because if we didn't have fear, so say if there was,
Fear in the woods.
If you're in the woods and there's a fire that's surrounding you, if you don't have fear of being burned alive, you're going to sit there and be burned alive and die. So we have to have it so that, it protects us. It moves us away from danger. It encourages us, to go.
However, so we have the fight or flight.
Yeah, fight or flight. There's also, but some people do freeze up, but depending on what's going on, I guess, then you have that response, that flight or fight. So,
and it's in every species.
Yeah.
Like in every living species, there's fear.
Of course.
So you see it in animals. You see it in humans all the time. Yeah. You see it in the marine world. Everywhere. There's fear because it's a survival skill. Or not skill. A survival need.
Necessity.
Yes. So other than the obvious, like if there's a lion in front of you, your fight or flight response is going to kick in and you are not fighting that lion. You are flighting. You are literally hoping you can levitate off the ground and fly.
It's like people that go on hikes in the morning, like early morning, and they carry around like sticks and stuff like that in case of mountain lions.
Yeah.
In that case, it's fight or flight, and it's fight only because if you run, you're going to die.
Yeah.
I guess it would be fight, right? With a lion, lion can catch up.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Same with like
you.
A bear. That's why they say like, make yourself little or act dead. Things like that. So with the mountain lion, there's like a lot of stories where people fight the mountain lion to get away, or so that it scares it.
The thing is that I don't think you can play dead like with a mountain lion. Because,
or the mountain lion?
Or a lion because it's going to eat you. If you're dead, if you play dead, easy target. Like,
but that's what you have to do with like bears. I know like there's lots of videos of people just bears there in their camp and they're just on the floor not moving at all, and the bear like moves them around a little bit and then just doesn't see interest and then just carries on its way. So I guess maybe depending on the animal, you know,
for sure.
Like with a shark, you can't swim from a shark. It's going to bite you not because it's hungry, because it doesn't know what you are. It mistakes you as like a seal. And so it's going to bite to see what you are and if you taste good. And we don't taste good.
We don't taste good to them.
They not.
Sharks don't like humans. No. So that's why they usually
just take a bite.
Yeah. And they freaking bite your leg off.
Just because, their jaws are so powerful.
Yeah.
I love Shark Week. So I saw this on Shark Week where they're explaining it like we have fingers to feel if something's good, you know what I mean? Like we have our sense of feel.
Yeah.
But to a shark, they have fins, and so their sense of feel is their teeth, so that's why they bite.
Oh, there we go.
And that may cause a person to lose a limb, but usually they take a bite and then that's it. They're not gonna, it's very rare for them to bite.
They're not gonna chew you up.
Yeah, they're not gonna take a bite and then go back for more.
Yeah.
Unless maybe on the circumstance that shark was starving, maybe, but other than that, no.
And the thing about fear is that it's really hard for you to control it, and it can take total control over you. Like there's situations where people freeze, and I am one of those people, unfortunately. Like there are circumstances where I do feel like I have to act, but I feel like when I feel real danger, like real danger, I freeze up, which is not good because those are usually the people that die.
Yeah.
And in this case, I'm talking about like actual, like physical danger. I'm not talking about like something
like
spooked
a phobia?
me. Yeah, or like a paranormal thing. Like, and this is one example. So I have two, but I'll start with this one. So I used to work. I'm not gonna say where I used to work, but it was a place where we used to offer tennis lessons, right? So people would come in and there was tennis lessons for all ages, so little kids to adults or whatnot. And there was this one time where it was a beginning class, and it was like, I forgot what it was called, like Tennis 101 or something. And it was for adults. So this place was pretty big, and it wasn't really kid friendly, but kids were there. But like, we didn't have a playground, or we didn't have like a playroom, but people would take their kids because obviously like the tennis courts are fine for the kids to be on, you know? So anyways, long story short, there was this mom, and she had her like 4-year-old son or whatever, and she was taking the class. So her son was kind of left unattended. And whenever they left the front desk, we kind of didn't really keep an eye on them anymore, because why would we, you know? So they would like take them.
Yeah, because you
like
weren't a daycare facility.
Yeah,
so,
and they were there for the lesson, so you just assume that like the mom's watching over their kid. And so there was a lot of tennis courts. There was 15 of them to be exact. So in between each tennis court, there was like a little fence. Like for an adult, it would be really easy to kind of like hop over, but a kid could climb it. So this kid decides to climb it, and at the top of the fence, there had it had these like, you know,
the barbed wire?
Not barbed wire, because that would have been like super dangerous.
Yeah.
But you know, the like when the fence ends, it kind of has like those spiky things.
It forms like an X at the top.
It forms like an X at the top, and they're like pointy and sharp.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. So he climbs this fence, and he kind of like falls, and this is gonna sound graphic, but he literally like slices his throat. Not to the point, like the kid is fine, he's fine. He didn't like slice it like super
open,
deep,
yeah.
But he did to the point where he was bleeding. So I'm at the front desk, and there was like no freaking like, there were no cameras, so I didn't feel the mom I didn't see the mom coming. So when I see her, she's holding this kid, and she's like, help me, like she's screaming like in panic.
Yeah.
And I legitimately froze. Like I legitimately, like, you know when you take those CPR classes and they're like, you have to look at someone in the eye and say, you call 911. I know why they say that, because it is 100% true. Thankfully, there was like other staff there, because they were saying, call an ambulance, but nobody was looking at me and saying like, hey, Patty, call an ambulance. So I froze, and I was just like looking at this little kid not gushing in blood, but his
that's
shirt was soaked.
That's a scary spot.
Yeah.
You would
I was like, oh my goodness, is he dead?
Yeah,
like, is he, you know?
Exactly.
So I like froze. So my manager, who was there, thankfully, she kind of like scooped me over from the phone and like just dialed an ambulance. But I froze. I was like, oh my God, I did not like, heaven forbid I'm like in front of a kid and like he needs CPR, because I'll probably freeze, you know? But it's just like, I just freaking panicked. I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't know how to act.
Yeah. I think that's a fear that when it happens, you know what I mean? Like, that's not like, you don't have a fear that, you know, you're going to see a kid with a throat slit. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's a fear that when it happens, it's spot on. It's not something that you can like predict. I guess there's a difference between fear and then phobia, because you're specifically, you know, afraid of this thing or this, you know, whether it's an animal or insect or human, like a clown, or there's people who are afraid of, like tsunamis, earthquakes, and they do freak out during those natural disasters. I guess with those,
I think the major difference is that a phobia, you can have it even if you've never been, like,
that's what I was going to ask.
If it's never happened to you, like, you've never lived through a tsunami, you've never lived through an earthquake, but yet you fear it.
I was wondering do you have to gain that phobia? Does something have to happen with that item or with that object or with that thing? Like, for an example, if I was never afraid of snakes, like they're gross, right? But I don't have like a super fear of it.
But you get
but
bit
all
by
of a sudden,
one.
and I get bit. Like, is that where my phobia? Does a phobia start there?
Yes. Well, I don't think it necessarily always happens, because one of the phobias that I have is I cannot see, like, even talking about it. Oh my goodness. I don't even know how I'm gonna say this, but my thing is like seeing holes on skin.
Ew, me too. Typophobia. It's gross. Look,
I already got the goosebumps.
When those stupid videos would come out on Facebook, I remember seeing it and I wanted to throw up, and it made my skin itch. Thinking about it makes me itch.
I legitimately had to go in front of a mirror and examine my whole entire body.
It's fake. Like they photographed it and stuff like that.
It looked like a honeycomb.
I'm so
type.
itchy. Ugh. You can probably hear it in the mic, but I'm so itchy right now.
And it was so that is like, God take me. Don't ever give me something like that, please. I beg you.
It was all photographed. It was all photoshopped, which is the relief. But I looked it up why, because I was like, why do these pictures make me feel like that? Why do they make me feel itchy and like nauseous? And the reason is because it's your body's natural response on saying, like, there's something wrong, there's an illness here, there's a disease, stay away.
Oh, like, don't touch it.
Yeah,
could be
contagious. Which I'm like, that's
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
That's why.
Actually.
Oh, I'm still itchy.
No,
you know what else makes me itchy? It's not a fear, but like lice and things like that. That instantly makes me fucking itchy.
Yeah. But I don't have a fear of it.
Yeah, it's just like it gives me a reaction.
Yeah, I do get itchy if I start. Oh my God, my head is itchy now thinking about lice. But that's not a fear. But the whole whatever I said, I'm not gonna say it again.
It is, yeah.
That like freaks me out.
Yeah, and it's something that a lot of people don't know that they have until they see it.
Yeah.
So Google it.
But I do think you can develop a fear. So especially if they're like traumatic.
Yeah.
You know, like if you live through like a traumatic experience, I definitely think that you can. But I don't know if that would be that way. Yeah, but I don't know if that would be
trauma.
Like yes,
that would be trauma,
like PTSD or something.
But that would still give you, anxiety, and anxiety does have to do with fear. It plays a role, like you feel anxiety because you get scared. Tell
me about a time where you were you experienced
true fear. This one's hard. Thinking of like a time where like I experienced true fear is hard. The only time I think I described true fear was like in my paranormal experience. You can go check that podcast out for that story. But that one, like where I froze. But in every other circumstance, I guess I haven't really been in a lot where I freeze up, I guess I do have that reaction, like to do something, and not to freeze. But I don't know, because nobody's ever gone up to me and be like, like I'm choking. Well, I mean, a sibling of mine choked and I just grabbed her and like
did the hammock.
No,
or what is it called?
She was
Heimlich.
Oh yeah. She was choking on a grape, and so I didn't, because she was little at the time, because we have a big age gap. I flipped her and then hit her back until it popped out. One thing that did scare me was where I was living at. in this complex was, it looks okay, but most of the time, some things are just always happening there, like always. So it was like a month of just straight crime after crime going on there. Mm-hmm. Down the street, these people went into this home and shot this family while they were asleep in bed. Wow. And with their kids. So it was during that month, and in the parking lot of where I lived, I was at home with my daughter, and all of a sudden, gunshots. And so my reaction was to grab her mm-hmm. and then go to where our counter is, because a bullet won't be able to go through that. So
your kitchen counter.
Yeah, the kitchen counter. So that was just it. I just waited there for her for like a little bit with her in my arm, and we just waited until, because I don't really know what it was that went through my mind. Like either it's a shooting, mm-hmm. Or
a break-in
or a break-in. But that was scary. But after that, I didn't have like a fear, of somebody breaking in and just shooting us.
And you know what? I think that it also depends on the situation, mm-hmm. because I did freeze whenever I was, like how I mentioned about that little kid and stuff. But there was another situation, but I guess it didn't like really play out. So I don't know if it would have gone as smoothly as I like envisioned it. Mm-hmm. But basically, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about like the mass shootings that have gone on in America, and
in schools,
yeah. in theaters and things like that. And it wasn't something that I was afraid of, because it's been happening more often in recent years.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something that I ever thought about, even after it happened, like in the Batman premiere.
Yeah.
When the Batman one happened.
When that happened, now to this day, I do, when I'm in a theater and there's a lot of people, I do get like anxiety does creep in little bit.
Okay. So it was around the time where the Batman shooting happened, and I think we didn't go to the movie. Like, we don't even go to the movies that often, mm-hmm. unless it's a movie like we really want to watch.
Yeah.
But most of the time we won't like look at movies that are playing and pick one. Mm-hmm. It's usually like if one is coming up or we see previews for one that we want to go to, then we do. Mm-hmm. So the Batman thing happened, and we didn't go for a few months, and we didn't really bring it up or anything. But I have a niece and a nephew. Well, actually I have two nephews, but my niece and my nephew are a little bit older. So, well, she's 9 and he's 7. So one time my brother dropped off my niece, and when I have her, we usually try to like do something fun, right? Yeah. So she said she wanted to go to the movies, and honestly, like, I was so distracted by
watching people
around. The people that I don't even remember what movie we went to go watch, but it was a kid movie. And I remember that when I was sitting in the theater, all I could think of is how I was going to protect her.
Yeah.
If something went down, what was I going to do to make sure that she didn't get hurt?
Yeah.
And she was younger at the time, so she must have been like maybe 6 or 5 at that time. Mm-hmm. And I was even thinking, like, I know this sounds like bizarre, but I was even thinking like, okay, is she small enough to where I can put her like in a bag? Like, if I take a beach bag, will she fit in there, and will I just be able to make it look like it's just a bag on the ground? Mm-hmm. Because at that point I didn't even care if like something happened to me. Like, I would literally like protect her with my body. But it was just like one of those things, like,
it just
I was
up in your
so
mind.
scared. Yeah. And I remember I haven't taken her back to the movies since, because I was like, we can go do anything else, but I was just so anxious the whole time. Yeah. My palms were sweaty. I was like, I can't, like, when the movie ended, I was so relieved. I'm like, let's go before like something happens. And then, you know what, at some point, like, my heart dropped, because you know how the people from theater go in there with that like red light to make sure you're not recording. That freaked me out. I was like, who is that? What is that light? I was just so scared. Yeah. But I was ready. Mm-hmm. Like, even though I was ready, like, I was scared, I was ready to, like, protect her. Yeah. You know? So, I mean, I guess it depends.
I think with a lot of the things that have been happening I know I have, because I'm always, like, looking alert. Now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You have to be alert. You have to be aware of your
where you're like at. Crowded places like the beach or things like that.
You have to be aware of your surroundings. Absolutely.
Big time. Yeah. Even like, you know what? It's so hard to like be at peace sometimes, because you have to like watch out for anything. Even like your Uber driver, you know, you have to like make sure that
if they take one
wrong
street,
turn,
you're like,
what's going on?
I'm going into my purse and I'm grabbing my knife and I'm just opening it. You know what I mean? And I'm just going to keep my hand in my purse.
Yeah, exactly. So just anything like crowded places. Like, I remember we went to the Glendale Mall in LA. And when we were going, and again, this was like right after like a mass shooting.
Something happened. Yeah.
Like right after there was like a tragic event. And we went, and I was like, man, like, this would be like, if somebody wanted to kill people, this would be like a really good place. Like, this is where they would come. Yeah. And so then I like freaked myself. I was like, oh my God, this is where they would come. Yeah. You know, because anytime like a mass shooter always wants to do a mass shooting, so they're trying to kill as many people as they possibly can. So I was like, oh man, like a bomb, or especially LAX. Oh my goodness, like when I was at LAX, I was like, oh my goodness, this is like the perfect place for like, this is like a terrorist dream.
Yeah,
you know. And it freaks me out, because I was like, no, it's
yeah, even going to theme parks now, it's like,
it's
I get
scary.
nervous. But then I'm like, okay, they have like metal detectors. Like, once I get in there, I'm fine. You know what I mean? It's just a line I'm like a little bit paranoid about. Yeah. But I think, I don't know. I do feel that same thing though. Like when I'm in a theater, like I start to look at the crowd and like I look who comes in and things like that. Or like you think about, okay, like I could just lay on top. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then they would protect them.
And you know what, right after, maybe like 2 weeks after the Vegas shooting, my brother went to Vegas. And I remember that when he told me he was going, I was like, what? Like, what are you doing? And he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, didn't you hear about it? He's like, of course I've heard about it. And I was like, aren't you scared? He was like, no, like, it's like, if there's gonna be a shooter, it's gonna literally be anywhere. You can't live your life like scared. I was like, well, how I envy you, because that is not my thought process right now.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it's just, you know, you can't be scared. Like, people can walk into your job and do a shooting if that's what they want to do. Like, just because you want to, you know, go somewhere, you can't stop yourself from. I was like, I don't know how you're doing it, but I can't.
Yeah. The last year, this month actually, we were in Vegas and I went to a concert. I was paranoid about it. I was like looking up, you know what I mean? Because we were down at the floor and I remember watching the concert, but occasionally I'd like look up because I'm like, oh God, like it's going to happen. You know what I mean? And I was like, I have to like put my mind off of it and just try to have fun.
And you know what's crazy too? That when you're at a place like Vegas, like everybody, it's Sin City, you know, it's Sin City for a reason. Usually a lot of like, you guys know, Sin City, okay? A lot of strippers, a lot of whatever. So I would think that a real, like, one of the, like, real possible threats would be, like, you get caught in some sort of, like, I don't know, like, human trafficking or something. But that literally would be the least of my worries. Like, I would 1,000 times more be scared of, like, a shooter rather than, like, a pimp. You know, like, I don't know. But sometimes, but that's where I'm getting at. Like, these fears just kind of take over you, and you really can't control them to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
They can, I guess they can take over you, or they can take, like, control. And
yeah,
I mean, it's paranoia is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
People are paranoid.
Yeah, that's true. One thing I've never been afraid of is like swimming. Wherever I'm swimming, I'm not afraid. Whether it's like the lake or like even the ocean, I'm not afraid but
even the ocean?
Yeah.
Like with massive waves pulling you into the mouth of the ocean?
Yeah.
Damn.
So when I was a kid, like, or even to this day, like when I go, nobody usually, whenever I go to the beach with people, mm-hmm. I'm usually the only one who's in the water because everybody's like, no.
Yeah.
So whenever as a kid, I learned to swim under and by myself in the deep young, and I love to swim. Like, I love to swim. But whenever I was a kid, I would have that stupid irrational fear when it was nighttime and I was swimming in a pool of a shark.
Really?
For no reason. I was like, if it's going to be in here. But when I would get to the beach, like to the ocean, I'm like, I'm fine. It was just a stupid irrational fear. Like, I'd be swimming in the deep and they turn the lights off. Like, all right, get up. Like, all right, come on, Lexi, get out of the pool.
Yeah.
I'd start swimming to the ladder and I'd just start to like get anxiety
like,
for
you could almost
no
like
reason. Yeah. Like, just like that. But when I'd go swimming in the ocean, it wouldn't freak me out. But there was this time, and it was the only time I ever had, like, I guess like a bad experience, but I did full on freak out. And it was because I was younger, and I was with some adults mm-hmm. that, you know what I mean, I could go out with and chill because I was under their care. They took the boat to the ocean, and so we, like, drove around on the boat. We would stop, and then we would get out and we would go swim, like, deep in the ocean, like deep, not by the beach. We'd go deep. And so I wasn't afraid. We stopped at this one place because we were like looking at the fish, and we stopped at this one. They like anchored down, and we stopped at this part where it had a whole bunch of kelp. And with kelp, it starts at the ground and it goes and it grows all the way, to where the light is, because it needs the light to grow. So the kelp's very, very, very long mm-hmm. and it's everywhere. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go swimming in here. I mean, kelp does feel slimy, like, in a way, and it feels weird, but I didn't think anything of it. And so I was swimming. So as long as you're aware, do you know what I mean? Like, we would have a snorkel and we would, like, always keep our head down, and that's why you have the snorkel, so that you can keep your head down and keep watching. So swimming, and then it was time to go, and so the two adults were in the boat, and I had to get up. And I was little, but they were like, oh no, climb into the boat, you can do this. And I was like, I can't do it, because I was, you know what I mean? I started to get into like, I can't do it. Like, I couldn't lift myself up into the boat. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yes, you can do it. Like, and so they waited for me to do it. And I like kept trying. And then because I kept trying, I straight like started to panic. Like, I never panicked, mm-hmm. but it hit, like, panic set in, and like the kelp touching my legs. Yeah. It sent me into a straight panic. And I was like, I was never scared of the ocean. I mean, I'm not now, but like that moment, what I felt then, that sucked. Yeah.
And probably a few weeks following that, you're like, I'm not getting in there.
Yeah. The boat flipped that day.
Wow.
We like parked it by they parked it by the beach. Mm-hmm. And at the time, the waves, like the sets, weren't as big. They were just like small. But as the day progresses, like waves get bigger and stuff, because of the tide. We were at the beach playing, and then like we were swimming back to the boat, and a wave came and flipped it. That sucked. And I had to swim back to the beach hard, and like I was like, it was just wave after wave, and like I wasn't prepared because I was already freaked out about the boat. You know what I mean? That was a hard swim. That sucked. But I mean, I'm not scared of the water now. But there's one more experience that you have And there's one more. Really scary one. I was scared for you. That was scary. If you want to share that story.
Okay.
I couldn't imagine. Like,
I'll share it.
That I couldn't imagine. Like,
so with one of my classes at the university, I had to go into a school setting and observe children with disabilities. So one of the settings was a preschool. So I went in there, and if you've ever had to observe anything, you literally don't do anything. You don't interact with the kids. You don't interact with anybody. You're just kind of like sitting in the back of the room and you're just observing, because that's literally what your class is about. So I had to do something like, I think it was like 45 hours or something. So there's a lot of flexibility. You go when you can. So you just set something up with the school or whatnot. So I was on like, so my thing was I would go for like 4 hours every day or every other day until my 45 hours were completed. And so by like the 4th day I was there, I already knew the routine. So it was preschool. So, you know, they have like potty breaks, they have recess, they have lunch. So they have a routine. So by day 4, I pretty much knew what they were doing. So you don't really interact. I take that back. You don't have to interact, but you can. Like, you can play with the kids. You can, like, you know,
or
like
help out with something.
Help out with something. So we went to, it was lunchtime, and we went to the cafeteria, and the kids were eating and stuff. And I was just, like, I was sitting with them, but I was talking to them because I wasn't just going to be a creep, you know, like just sit there and watch them eat. So I was just, like, sitting down with them or whatever. And all of a sudden, I hear this, it was like an alarm, like when the fire alarm goes out. It was similar to that. So it goes out, and I didn't like know what was going on. So then at the table where I'm sitting in, it's these like long cafeteria tables that schools have. And so there was multiple like teachers' assistants there and some teachers and stuff, and obviously the kids. So I looked over at one of the assistants, and I was like, what is that? And she said, there's a shooter. So she said this, and this was like when like we've said in recent years, there's been a lot of school shootings. So I said, a shooter? And she said yes. So then I turned to like look at the door, and one of the like the custodians, he was like locking the door. He like was finding a way to like not barricade, but like put a lock, and he was like, at the cafeteria there was a stage, because you guys know, like, kids with the Christmas program and stuff, they have like a little
they also use it as an auditorium.
Yes. So there was like a stage, and there was like a curtain, and this custodian was like, hey, get behind, and he wasn't like talking to me, but he was like, go behind the stage. So I am freaking out at this point. I'm like, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna get shot, right? So I said, like, I turn again to the assistant, and I was like, hey, like, there's a shooter on campus, and she said yes. Okay, so when she said that, I literally, like, in my head I lost it. Like, in my head, I was, like, saying my death prayer, you know? Like, I was like, God, like, everything. So I turned to one side. I grab one of the kids, and I grab another one. So I get two kids, and they're little, you know? They're preschoolers, so like 3 or 4. And some of them are on wheelchairs. They're kids with disabilities. So some of them are. So I just remember I grabbed 2 kids, and I, like, run to the stage, and we get put into this, like, little closet, and we're all, like, jamming in there. The kids are not crying, but they're kind of like, confused. They're like, what is going on? You know, like, they're seeing all these adults just kind of cramming them into a closet. And I was like, what is going on? What is going on? So I was shaking. Like, seriously, I was shaking. And like, I had the 2 kids. So once we were, like, put in the closet, I kind of, like, set them down. And in my head, I was just thinking about the kids who were in the wheelchairs. I was like, where are they? Like, where are they? But honestly, at this point, I was kind of like, I'm going to die. Like, we're all gonna die, right? So I remember I took my phone out of my purse because I was gonna text my husband, and I was gonna say, hey, like, I'm gonna die. And the aide was like, no, don't post anything, don't. And when she told me that, like, I don't even know why, but like, I took her order. I was like, okay. So I put my phone back in my pocket, and we just waited. And then after like 5 minutes of my heart just pounding, I finally asked. I was like, how did you know that there was a shooter here? And she's like, oh, I'm just guessing. And I was like, you don't know? And why are you going to tell me that? First of all, I'm just observing here. Like, obviously, I don't know the drill, you know? And then after like 5 minutes that we were in there, which felt like, honestly, it felt like an hour.
Yeah.
We were like, finally, like, somebody, oh my God, when they opened the closet door, I was like, literally on the verge of tears. Yes. Aww. And I was like, this is it, you know? And so they opened it, and it was the custodian. So it was the same custodian that I saw locking the cafeteria doors. So, like, I kind of got relieved, and he's like, oh, you guys can come out now. And when he said that, I took the biggest breath that I had ever taken in my life. Mm-hmm. And I was, like, almost gasping for air, like I was drowning. And so then I told her, I did tell her, I was like, hey, like, why would you tell me that? Like, you freaked me out. And she was like, oh, it's because the lockdowns happened. Oh, and when all of this was going on, people were yelling, lockdown, it's a lockdown. So it was like a chaotic scene. Yeah. It was so scary. Thankfully, I, like, grabbed the two kids because I was thinking about them. I was, like, even though I was, like, I'm going to die, I really was thinking about these little kids because they're so little. They're, like, 3 and 4. And, like, oh, they're so cute and, like, they're so innocent. So I was like, oh, why would they come here? But, yeah, that definitely has been one of the scariest shits I've ever been through for no reason.
Yeah.
So, I haven't been back to the... No, I'm just kidding. I did go back. I finished my... That day, no. I did finish my observation hours, and I was like, hey, next time, don't freak me out.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the lockdown ended up being because there was, like, a incident that happened down the street where I think there was, like, a confrontation or something. And, like, for the kids' safety, it went on lockdown because... like, and the individuals could have easily walked in through the school or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. I've been to a few schools here, and I would say that one of their systems is way better than the other systems on how to get in that school. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, this one school that my siblings go to, you have to, the office is in the front. Mm-hmm. You cannot get through those doors unless they buzz you in.
Okay.
At all. Like, you can't. And you have to give your, like, identification and everything like that before you can get in. Even if you're in that office yourself, you can't get into the school. They even have their doors locked. Like,
that's a good system.
It is a really good system.
Not only for school shooting, but safety in general.
Safety in general, it is.
What if somebody wants to snatch a kid, you know?
Yeah. We've had a lot of, like, child or... almost abductions here where we live. We've had a lot of that going on. That's scary too.
But I'm sorry. Go on with your story.
But
so your brother's school is really safe.
Siblings.
Oh, your siblings. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty safe. It's the scariest school to walk through though because it's very old. It's like it was like built in the 80s. So when you walk down those long ass hallways and all the lockers are there, I'm like, this is a scene for a movie about school shootings. And I'm like, I'm paranoid being in here right now. But thankfully, they have a really good system. Yeah, when my daughter started school, that was my fear. That still is my fear. Like, I keep, like, whenever her school calls, and it's always, like, the principal reminding about, like...
Yeah.
Back to school night and things like that, I freak out. I see the number, I'm like, I answer it as quick as I can because I'm scared for that.
I remember you even told me you considered like homeschooling her.
Yeah, I did consider homeschooling her because I was terrified that something like that would happen because people who do it always have to be 100% complete assholes about it and murder innocent children.
Yep.
So that was my biggest fear. Her starting school, I was panicked. Like the week before she started like kindergarten, I was like, I don't want her to go. I was like, don't go, stay with me. Man.
So what were you gonna say about their
system?
Yeah,
I would think all schools should have that first and foremost. That was the only thing. I can't really think of anything. Oh, they've never had anything happen there. Their hallway's scary, but that's about it. I think that all schools
people
should have.
People are scared to go. You know what? A good system is to just make your school look scary, so people are even scared to go in there. Yeah. Well, I think that's gonna wrap things up with fear. Let us know some of your biggest fears
or phobias
and how they started and how you realized you had a phobia of something. And I know a lot of common ones like spiders or things like that. Clowns, yeah. But if you have like a really weird phobia, I would love to know all about it. Mm-hmm. And let us know about any suggestions over things you would like us to talk about.
Yep. Or if there's any other fellow parents out there, did you experience fear after you had kids? You know, because I never thought about walking into Walmart and somebody trying to snatch my child up until now.
Until you have one, yeah.
So
all right.
Let us know.
Until next time.
Later, guys.